Good evening. Calling the meeting to order. Welcome to the West Hartford Public Schools regular Board of Education meeting. It is Tuesday, March the 19th. Charlotte, may you please call the roll?
Mr. Gagnon,
Present.
Mr. Goldman,
Here.
Dr. Harris,
Here.
Ms. Miramon,
Here.
Mrs. Nazarella,
Present.
Dr. Thomas Farquharson,
Here.
Mrs. Yagaloff,
Present.
Student Representative Liam Wright,
Here.
and Student Representative Chris Ramal.
We anticipate on his way. All right. Thank you. And with that, Liam, may you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We do not have a revision to the agenda order. However, do just want to use point of privilege to remind us all why we are here. And we know that we are in the midst of our budget season. March is a busy budget time. And we know as Board of Education members, our primary charge is not only to issue the budget, but also policy and certainly to institute, or rather to have our superintendent. And with us being in the midst of the budget season, we must remember that the numbers that we're talking about, at the end of the day, we're talking about people. We're talking about human beings. And so just want to keep us grounded in that regard, and do want to pass the mic to our superintendent to further echo that message.
Thank you, Lorna, Madam Chairperson. I wanted to share something, and it may be a little off the budget topic as it relates to, some, and really address these comments, not just to our board, but to our community. We've seen a lot happening within education of late, and a lot of news stories breaking around the state of Connecticut and certainly also in Massachusetts. That can be troubling at times in terms of student behavior or things that are not in keeping really with our philosophy and our policies related to equity, diversity, inclusion. And there's even policy that's being proposed at the state level. And I wanted to take this opportunity to just, because as we look at it, as we look at pieces, certainly within our budget, certainly within the ways that we operate, this is always a district that has placed tremendous value in and around equity advancement and what we do. And West Hartford itself has not been immune to some of these concerns. We take and we treat students as they come to us and the behaviors that they may bring to the door with them on a daily basis, and we do our best over a period of years to help support and develop that. And it's in that spirit that I just wanted to affirm the work that this Board of Education has done and past boards with the passing of an equity and anti-racism vision. I wanted to just quote a little bit from that. We, the members of the West Hartford Board of Education, dedicate ourselves to the pursuit of equity. Equitable schools are those that value and honor all in our community as unique individuals capable of maximizing their true potential. And it's in that spirit I want to just celebrate more so than anything else some of our recent accomplishments that we've had in and around these themes, because there are things like this that are some of the unspoken pieces kind of in the budget that don't often get enough of a highlight as to the things that we try to do to support all. So a couple of highlights. Training earlier this year hosted a team of 6 educational leaders from the district in a workshop confronting anti-Semitism that was hosted by the Jewish Community Relations Council. And that training was turnkeyed to all district principals at a November meeting. Similarly, we've recently had a One Community, One Book read that was supported by the Foundation for West Hartford Public Schools, where there was a story about friendship and kindness that was read while learning about Ramadan, given that was something that the primary character celebrated. At each of our 3 middle schools, we've hosted grade-level assemblies where we talk about hate speech and language that make others feel less on the basis of race, ethnicity, religion, disability, gender identity, or sexual orientation. It's programming like that serves to support a real character development. I had the great privilege very recently to attend a joint Hall and Conard Youth Equity Squad and then afterward at Conard Brothers and Sisters Club, where I got to see our high school students engaging in very real, very authentic conversations about topics such as this, and expressing themselves in very respectful and very mature ways. There are two recent shares that I'm very excited about that I wanted to just share with the board and with our public. Teresa Rangel attended a meeting at Hall High School earlier today where she had the privilege of meeting with Anastasia King, who's an assistant United States attorney, who was there at a meeting to discuss a program championed by her office called United Against Hate. And the connection was initiated by one of our own students at Hall High who had reached out, advocating for assembly and learning, and it's to educate students how to recognize hate crimes, who to contact, and much, much more. And then finally, as recently as today, in an email shared from Joy Wright, a principal at King Philip Middle School, we only learned this week that one of our own ELA teacher, Maggie Sullivan, who teaches 8th grade, and 8th grade students Gabriella Ricketts and Elias Hatch were recognized for poetry, art, or both in the I Matter Poetry, as I Matter Poetry finalists. That's sponsored by the National Youth Foundation. Their work is published in a beautiful book, and the contest itself was started in 2020 by a 14-year-old named Isabella Hansen to give young people a vehicle to amplify their awareness of racial injustice and civil unrest. It's in these ways that, as a district, we demonstrate a very authentic dedication to our equity policy. It is something that is underwritten in what we do, and I thought it bared mentioning, just given some of the things that we see that are happening in and around us and with our youth. And I just wanted to be able to send that very positive and proactive message to you and to our community, and thank them for their continued partnership.
Thank you very much, Mr. Facinas. Thank you. And with that, we now will proceed to public communications. This is where we have an opportunity to hear from you, your thoughts, your questions, and your suggestions. Each individual is allowed 3 minutes to speak. We ask for when you go to the podium to please share your name and your town of residence. Please be mindful that we as a board are attentively listening to you. However, we do not respond to comments as they are being made. Please be aware of Charlotte, who will hold up a yellow card when you have 1 minute remaining in your time. And when your time is expired, you will see a red card, and we ask for you please to respectfully take your seat at that time. With this being the second meeting of the month, we are receiving public comments on agenda items only. And to refresh us of what the agenda is for tonight, it includes proposed calendar for the 2025-2026 school year, gifted and talented education, and early learning center in West Hartford. So with the list that was provided, there were no names signed up on the list. However, I will ask if there is anyone in the audience who would like to speak on an agenda item. Seeing none, we will continue to non-staff communications and reports. And this is where we're able to hear from our student representatives what's happening in our high schools. So Liam, please share regarding Hall.
So spring sports have just begun, just to name a few: baseball, outdoor track, and tennis. Pops and Jazz was just this past weekend at Hall, where we had a very good show out, and it was very successful and also very fun to see. The school day SAT for juniors will be happening on Thursday, and everyone else will just have a regular day of classes with a slightly adjusted schedule. The first 3v3 basketball tournament for the Cancer for Kids Club just occurred, and they raised a few $100s for their cause, which was wonderful. There are 2 spring break tours that are going on for our music groups. Orchestra is going to Ireland, and the band, choir, and dancers are going to Germany. So they will be having a lot of fun in that coming up. All right, thank you.
Oh my, the travel abroad. Oh, impressive. Well, thank you, Liam, very much. And we imagine and anticipate wonderful things are equally happening at Conard, so we look forward to hearing that update the next time. And now moving on to unfinished business, where we have the proposed calendar for the 2025-2026 school year as a second reading. We are seeking a motion that the Board of Education review as a second and final reading the proposed calendar for the 2025-2026 school year. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Jason. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Claire. Discussion. And so with that, teammates, we know that the last time we reviewed the calendar, and with that, we'll receive any questions or comments, or Superintendent Vicinas, if there's anything you would like to share regarding the proposed 2025-2026 calendar.
I just wanted to mention that since we had the first reading of this, we've received several letters from people requesting now an additional day off from the school calendar for a different religious holiday. So I know that we've talked about this and we didn't seem to be able to come up with any kind of way to make these decisions, but given that we're going to vote on this now, I think it's important that we try to come up with something over, the next few months as how we're going to address this, since we've had additional requests for more days off for different holidays. I mean, I think I understand the difficulty, and we've kind of talked about it. I don't want to go through all of that again, but I think it's, we have to have some metrics as to how we make these decisions going forward, giving off days off of, for different holidays on the calendar.
Point well received. Other questions or comments? Claire?
I had asked in you last session about the 23rd of December. So we anticipate that will probably be an early release, but it just didn't get put on the calendar.
Yes, we more than anticipate. We plan for that to be an early release following our Wednesday schedule for release, and it's that is something I can commit to right now. We don't typically we don't have a way to annotate it, but if that's something that the board would like, I can. And we'd have to just come up with a different symbol or something. It would be unique symbol. Or what I've done, the last couple of years really is, in any instance where we're having that, make announcements here at the board table. We put it into our newsletters with plenty of advance time so that our families are aware of that.
That would be fine.
Other questions or comments?
I just, in response to, what Gail said, you're passing this. If at any point you want to make an amendment to this, depending on how the board feels about any request you receive at any point, you certainly may do so. So there, at the first reading, there were no requested revisions at the moment. I did see at least one of the email traffic that you're referencing. So that really becomes a decision. And if we can talk if you want help with making that determination or want some guidance, but it becomes kind of, really the calendar is one of those board prerogative ideas where based on what you would like, you can make that change or investigate it.
Yes, Jason.
I'm aware of receiving one request. Gail, if there's more than one, would you mind forwarding that to the rest of us, just so we have an idea of that? Thank you.
Other questions or comments? So I will say thank you for the comment that was made, and again, well received. And what I may, just to make sure we're all on the same page with respect to the calendar before us, if we do proceed to vote, the calendar will stand as is. However, thank you very much, Mr. Vicinas, for noting that in the coming months, per your suggestion of coming up with a metric of identifying future additions, there is an opportunity to amend the calendar to add and reflect whatever decisions may be made. And so again, with that path forward, it will not hold us up from voting on the calendar as is. However, it does recognize the important charge of us to look into trying to identify a way of anticipating additional requests to reflected on the calendar, and we'll have an opportunity to do so. Claire.
This is the 25-26 calendar. If I'm Correct. We decided the 24-25 calendar would recognize Diwali, but Diwali was on the weekend, correct?
Yeah, the first instance of Diwali, when you passed that calendar, was on the weekend, so it was not reflected. And you'll notice on this calendar, I think we pointed out last time, it does fall on a school day on October the 31st, which is a Friday, and so it is recognized on this calendar. We do typically, to your point, you as a board will publish a calendar 2 years in advance. So again, there's ample time to make any decision, but usually we do it 2 years in advance so that families can have a general sense of where the vacations are going to be, when school might end, for travel purposes and long-range planning.
Yeah.
One more point. So I assume like we wouldn't be the only district who are faced with this, issue. And I don't know if there is a way to get some guidance. We had kind of talked about it, and then it sort of didn't go anywhere as to how we get the metrics and make the decisions and get the guidance. But maybe that is something that we could look at, coming up before we have to vote on the next calendar, so that we, can do this in a more formalized way.
Yeah, I'm happy to respond to what, the earlier question, I think there's a differentiation between the earlier conversations of are there metrics and a question of what are other districts doing? So this might be a conversation that we might like to have. You could have it here tonight. You could have, this could be an ad hoc sort of a committee or something that you might want to convene. Or you could just throw some questions at me and just ask me to get them answered for you in terms of what it is that you're looking for, and I can report back to you with that.
If I may suggest, and thank you for your flexibility in how we approach this, if I may suggest for the purpose of tonight and the purpose of exploring how to move forward, if we do that with intentionality in a more structured way, but not at this particular time, only because we did have attempted to have robust discussion about this before, and with every question that was asked, it only evolved into more questions. And so it certainly will take a bit more time, and we want to be thoughtful with that. And so, again, suggesting that with respect to the current calendar and our thoughts on voting on that, we do due diligence in that regard, but do take the time to see how we can envision a path forward in a more organized way, acknowledging the questions on the floor. So with that, we'll see if there are any other additional questions, again, with the motion on the floor with respect to the school calendar for 2025-2026. Okay, with that motion, all of those in favor of approving the calendar as is, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Thank you so much. And again, duly noted that this conversation will continue. Moving on to new business, which we do not have any of. Now moving on to staff communications and reports, where we will receive our superintendent's report. Mr. Vicinas, to you.
Thank you, and thanks for the opportunity for those other shares, because I feel like it's been a little while since we had a regular meeting. We've had a lot of budget meetings, and there's plenty to share. And in Chris's absence, I would at least highlight two huge accomplishments for Connor. The Les Mis play was simply incredible. Had a wonderful time, incredible performance. As was Hall of Pops and Jazz. I had to just hit that one. Just wonderful. And then, of course, Connor was very proud, I believe, took home state championships in hockey. So kudos on that. Lots of shares and celebrations. I will try to be brief, but I certainly don't want to rush because all of these are amazing. Students, two different teams from Charter Oak International Academy swept first place honors at the Odyssey of the Mind state level competition, and they're headed to nationals, which will be in Iowa this coming May. Incredible. I sent the board a couple of photos that are just super cute. Sedgwick Quest students had a powerhouse showing at Connecticut History Day Regionals with 6 students advancing to state level competition, which will occur in early May. So I'll just hit these names. Sixth grader Emily Matthew took first place for a junior research paper. Eighth grader Carolyn Wentland took first place for junior individual website development. Seventh grader Drini Luthra took first place junior individual documentary. Seventh grader Samantha Warren took first place junior individual performance. Seventh grader Anna Pax Small took first place junior individual exhibit. And seventh grade Annabelle Brooks took third place junior individual exhibit. So very impressive for that team to basically just rule the day. Eighth grade student from Bristow, Monique Pedrosa Saipian, was recognized with an award for her submission to the National Arts Exhibit. And then in addition, Hall seniors Derek Braxton and Amisha Gopal, as well as Hall junior Georgia Caldwell, and one of our own West Hartford visual arts teachers, Rachel Clark, were also recognized with honors at this National Art Exhibit. So amazing things happening there. King Philip 8th grader Ethan Zimmer, I think I mentioned earlier, he was going on to the state spelling bee. He took second place at the championship at University of St. Joseph, and so he will head to nationals as well. Whiting Lane is very proud going to be featured on the nationally acclaimed Edutopia platform for a piece called What Works in Education. They will have a film crew coming to capture their educators doing best practices in instruction later this month. Our own Lori DeRocher, a kindergarten teacher at Norfelt Elementary, has the extreme honor to be selected to serve on a National Selection Committee panel for the Presidential Awards for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Education. And that is testament to Lori's leadership in curriculum and best instructional practices. And it's a unique honor for an early childhood educator to have this. Lori, of course, we announced earlier, was national presidential awards for excellence in mathematics and science instruction earlier, and got to visit the White House as part of a ceremony. Sedgwick's Library Media Center boasts a new sensory wall. It's a tactile and visual experience designed to support sensory regulation and learning, and it's thanks and generosity and support of the Foundation for West Hartford Public Schools and the Dean Family Grant specifically. King Philip and Sedgwick Middle School Unified Basketball brought home gold at the Unified Tournament held earlier this week. This is further supported by the CIAC and Connecticut Special Olympics. Very proud of our athletes as well as their partners. We have a save the date on March the 6th. That's passed, I'm sorry. So on March the 6th, I did save the date, and I attended the Fine and Performing Arts Art Beat Showcase, and that is open. It's just incredible work there. If you haven't had a chance to go to the Salt Box on Buena Vista, please. It's only got, I believe, a few nights left, so make sure that you get over there and see that. It's simply incredible. So those are some of the shares. Under curriculum, I want to let you know, we've been talking about, I put some notice in there about the 250 task force, which is a joint town, community, West Hartford Public Schools, all coming in to form a task force to help plan and support the 200th anniversary of the founding of the country, which will obviously be in July of 2026. So we had 3 of our own teachers this week attend a state conference to learn more about the 4 major themes, and we are continuing to have ongoing meetings with town leadership and community leaders to plan educational programming and other programming in support of that. That will take place now and throughout up until July. So this is going to be a multiple year kind of a thing. I'm super excited to be able to talk. I think I've made mention in a couple of places about the potential for the Manufacturing Expo. The date has been set, April 17th. We'll do it here at the Town Hall, I believe from 9 a.m. until approximately 11 a.m. We anticipate over 200 students from both Hall and Connor to be in attendance, and they'll be visiting stations from somewhere between 7 to 10 different manufacturing partners, the majority of which will be from here in West Hartford. and a handful from surrounding towns. A huge thank you going out to Kristen Gorski and Lauren DeLisa Siegel, who are in our own town office for economic development, and certainly State Representative Kate Farrar, who have helped to really spearhead this effort, working with Ann McKernan and a whole team of folks in the curriculum office. And I mentioned that, I may have mentioned we put in for, but I'm very proud to report that our 2024 Summer Enrichment Program Provider Grant in the amount of $174,000 has been accepted and awarded by the state of Connecticut. Very, very pleased for the work of Ann and Teresa on that. This grant will support academic and enrichment activities for middle school students for this coming summer. And last but not least, this is a save the date. The Futures program, which is a program for students with significant cognitive needs in the Next Chapter bookstore, which is one of our post-secondary sites right here in the center of town. They're partnering to sell a line of soap products made by one of our very own students from the Futures program as part of her micro business. And the Next Chapter will be hosting a ribbon cutting ceremony on Tuesday, April 16th at noon in celebration of the launch of this product and the opportunity to meet the creator. So that is my update, pending any questions.
Thank you very much. Teammates, any questions regarding the superintendent's update we just received? All right, seeing none, thank you very much again. Continuing on with the agenda to staff reports and board discussions, where we will receive the Gifted and Talented Education, the QUEST program. And the background will be provided to us from Ms. Ann McKernan, Dr. Mary Thompson, Mrs. Michelle Hadlock, and Mr. David Lee, who will report. And so please venture to the table. And as you make your way, I will be transparent and fully disclose that I have moments of tears of joy in seeing these wonderful people. I think all of us collectively interface with different staff and personnel in the district. So there are moments when you have big smiles and warm hearts.
So as they get seated, you all know Ann McKernan, our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction. I'm gonna introduce to you formally Mary Thompson, who is our Director for Gifted and Talented. I know she wants to say a few things about these folks. I know David is probably dying to say something. His students were just highlighted in my report. So do you want to talk to us about your two teachers? Can you just hit your mic real quick?
I didn't want to steal their thunder, Paul did, for Michelle really just to talk about OM, and David just a quick, check-in with History Day, and also just what schools you're at, and just a little bit of background on that, if that's possible. Michelle.
Great. So this year I am at Charter Oak and at Morley. My Charter Oak teams consisted of 14 students, 7 on each team. And Odyssey of the Mind is a creativity competition in which they get to showcase their solutions to 5 different problems. They get to select one of the 5 problems. They range everywhere from building vehicles to their interpretations of literary classics in front of a set of judges, and they have strict time limits and budgets that they have to abide by. And while they're doing this, they take their rubric and they have to put their own twist on a situation. So this year I had a team that did the vehicle problem, where they built a vehicle. They had to move from place to place and in reverse with a creative setting. And the other one had a performance problem in which there was a lot of problem solving along with a lot of singing that went along with it too.
Excellent. So I'm David Lee. I am the Quest teacher at Sedgwick, as well as one of the Quest and Math Quest teachers at Brayburn. So speaking to History Day, at Sedgwick, one of the opportunities students have for their Type 3 investigation project, which we will talk more a little bit more later, if they love to research and love history, is History Day. And we had 6 students that chose to do this for their project as well as participate in the contest. And History Day is a very extensive process where students can pick a historical topic of their choosing, and they create a project based on a theme. This year's theme was turning points in history. So they can create a research paper, a documentary, a performance, an exhibit, or a website. And within the research and the creation of those projects, they have certain limits that they have with each category. They have to separate their resources into primary and secondary sources, cite, annotate their sources, and then really extensively create an argument and a thesis statement for what their historical point is, as well as a process paper. It's a very extensive process for the students who choose it. And we had 6 amazing students, and at our regional contest, 5 of them swept first place in each of the categories, and the other student came in 3rd place, and so all of them have moved on to participate in the state contest on May 4th at CCSU.
We're looking forward to additional good news about that. Yeah.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's nice to see you all. I'm here to say very little, except to provide the littlest background on our program and then turn it over to these fine folks. But our Quest program, it's pretty interesting when you look at it. We've had some form of program for 50 years, which is pretty amazing. And by 1994, it became the Quest program, and it has operated with, as these fine people will explain, the Elementary Quest program, the Math Quest program, the Art Quest program, and there's a middle school component as well. I think what's interesting is there is state law around gifted and talented, and although this towns are required to identify students, we're not necessarily required to have a program, and we have an outstanding program, so we're very proud of that. And Dr. Mary Thompson oversees the program, and I want to turn it over to her to start talking about it.
Okay, so our program is grounded in theory using cognitive and social researchers. The leading thinkers in this program would be, which we base our program on, is Dr. Renzulli up at UConn, and we also have Susan Baum, and as well as Sally Reese. So that's the foundation that our program that we build on. Over the past few years, we've been really looking at how do we diversify our representation. In doing so, we've expanded the identification tools that we use to include measures of creativity. We've developed culturally sensitive identification protocols and infused enrichment activities within the school day for all kids, not just our Quest students. We've seen an increase with this as well, in students of color in all programs, an increase in girls in Math Quest, an increase in the percentage of boys in Quest at the elementary school, as well as an increase in our special education population, whether it's 504 or 2E students. I don't want to steal the thunder from my 2 teachers. They're going to actually talk about the specific of our Math Quest program and our Quest program, and then we'll be around to answer any questions that you may have after that. Michelle.
So we thought it would be interesting to start off with a little video so you can really hear the impact that the MathQuest program has on the students that attend MathQuest. So we would like to share that with you first.
MathQuest is about learning and putting together everything you know about math and pushing it further. It's one thing to just memorize a fact or an equation or a process, but you have to really take that information and use it.
I like how we can really engage in the conversations we're having about math to really understand the fundamental on what math is, how it works, and what concept we're learning.
MathQuest is a place where I get to go to be with people like me who love math and are really good at it. I will have struggled many times, and when I have that light bulb go off, I was like, oh, that's what it is. So I have that moment a lot.
This is a really special program that we have to offer. It's a necessity, and I'm so thankful to be a part of it.
It's everything to me that I get a good education too, so that I can learn my best, because what's the point of not being able to help people if I don't understand it myself?
They have a need to learn math at a faster pace. They're able to master material after 1 to 2 exposures, so they're ready for a more in-depth project-based learning or to move on to another spiral concept.
With this, you're moving really quickly and you have to hold on to that knowledge, but we always come back and revisit it.
They're learning a ton of different strategies to solve a problem, so yes, we learn the algorithm, but we learn every way. And we learn to apply the math, not just to solve the problem, but to really apply it. I mean, you can see it with their creative projects. They have to take it and use it.
And here, everyone's getting excited about math. So you see them build confidence. They're actually focusing on the patterns that they have to see and how to communicate it effectively.
It's a fun way to learn, and it's a great learning environment for all of us.
In other towns, they just smush all the kids together. So MathQuest is unique because we all have our full potential and we all are as smart as we can get. The most important thing is that we adjust to kids' special needs. I know that whatever I learn, it's going to help me when I grow up.
We definitely see students become more independent. There is many more responsibilities for them, so they have opportunities that they might need to practice not just mathematical skills that we were looking for, but they're looking at time management skills, how to pace themselves through projects that we're assigning over time. They're more confident in sharing their ideas with like-minded peers, which is great.
In the classroom, they might have a whole month to learn a unit of study. We might do it in 2 weeks or less, depending.
I know I've been through some units and problems where I was stuck on it for maybe a week, and I just thought, I can't do this. But once I started really putting my all into that question or that unit, when I finally got that light bulb moment, it was the best feeling.
MathQuest is the reason why I go to school every day. If it wasn't for MathQuest, then I don't know what I'd be doing.
I really feel like they bond and their personalities really come through, which is nice to see. And they share with each other and they work with each other on independent days. So they've got other teammates, really, is what it comes down to, is they're kids that are on their team.
You see the growth right away. You see a lot of independent skills develop, a lot of presentation skills, because we talk about math all the time.
I feel proud of myself. I'm yes. And sometimes I pat myself on the back. We do a lot of fun projects. I like that. Design a treehouse, floor plan, design a town. How could you not have fun with projects like this?
They learn independence, they learn task commitment, they learn organization. They have to function 2 days a week doing material that I've provided for them in their classrooms and come to me with it completed so on the next day we can continue progressing. So they learn study skills. They learned to have a productive struggle for the first time where they've actually encountered something that's hard for them and how do I problem solve through this, and the strategies to be successful that will carry forth through middle school, high school, and beyond.
I hope to be able to get a way of looking at the world through math, but also through just different lenses of different people, of different ways of thinking of problems.
At the end of the day, I'm not the only one who's talking about those math concepts.
It's just great to me that I can have an education where I am at the pace that I need to be. Nobody will judge you for your pace, and nobody will tell you, oh, you're not as good as math as I am. If you believe it, then you can do it.
So back in 2010, the Common Core standards came out, and we looked at those mathematical practices. Now, these are the same mathematical practices that you see all the way from preschool through the high school, and we're using them too. So our curriculum is based off of the Common Core standards, and we're using the same things, but at a definitely higher rate and with more focused attention as we're going, and much faster. So MathQuest, basically, as you heard it before, is a complete accelerated program for students that are in 4th and 5th grade. They have to present exceptional math skills and be able to work 2 years above grade level. So the goal is that when they leave us in 5th grade, they're skipping the basically 6th grade honors and they're going right into 7th grade honors because they've already done that with us. Right now, MathQuest students represent basically 10% of our populations in grades 4 and 5, which is 131 students across our district. Now, these students all have a curiosity of a math that's just unbelievable. These are kids that are talking math all the time. They're looking at situations, they're making those connections to real world situations, and they're looking at patterns as they go through. They're eager to share their information with you all the time too. So as they transfer their new knowledge to real world problems, they definitely show persistence and stamina. They're looking for that extra challenge. A lot of times they were able to do their math going home on the bus. So now they have to just slow down and kind of think about it. And we're looking for them to be flexible and creative thinkers as they take new strategies as they're solving new problems. As a MathQuest teacher, we are their primary instructor. We are responsible for all their math work. So they're not doing the work that's within the classroom. They're going to be working on ours. We do the homework, we do the assessments, report cards, we attend conferences, and any communications that's related to the math work, we are doing that. Though we are in communication with their classroom teacher at all time because they are working 2 days independently, so they know what we're doing. We deliver instruction, as you heard, 3 days a week, and then 2 days are independent. During that independent time, they are working on review, problem solving, project-based projects. We also have computerized programs that they're working with. And as you can see, because they have to work independently, there is a huge amount of task commitment that must be needed, and they have to be enthralled with math as they're learning. The MathQuest 4 curriculum basically covers the 4th grade curriculum because we're looking to fill in any of the gaps that they might have along the way, the 5th grade and the 6th grade Common Core curriculum. So you can see that there's 2-year jump. In MathQuest 5, we are continuing that 6th grade curriculum and we're taking on parts of the 7th grade curriculum also. And it's all based on the Common Core standards. This is the progression for our MathQuest student. So as I said, as they leave us in 5th grade, they go right into the 7th grade honors. They hopefully go on with this progression. And then that in 12th grade, there is a new class that has started, which is the Honors Multivariable Calculus class, or they can take it at the local class at a local college. We have quite a few students that are already taking that multivariable calculus class. I'm actually quite interested to know exactly what they're teaching. So it's really nice to see that they're progressing as they move through the curriculum. And our goal as MathQuest teachers and as the committee who looks at students and their work samples that's made up of MathQuest teachers and Dr. Thompson and the middle school math department to decide who gets into MathQuest as we're looking at all this work sample is that we're really trying to find the just right fit. You want it to be a fit that students will continue to love math. We want them to always have that piece of them. When they struggle too much, they're going to dislike math. So we want to make sure it's the just right fit. Our ArtQuest program is an after-school program that is for talented 5th grade students. Now, this is not run by the ArtQuest teachers, though it is run by the Quest department, but it is done by our visual arts teachers. We have approximately 30 to 35 students, which makes up about 5% of all the students in 5th grade. They work for about 20 weeks after school. They go on field experiences, and they showcase their absolutely incredible work right here in Town Hall, that you can see some of the things that they do. It's absolutely amazing.
All right, I'm going to give us an overview of the Quest portion of our program. First of all, our Quest mission statement is also our acronym, and this is one of the first things that we mention with our incoming 4th graders on one of their first days in Quest, that everything they're going to do between 4th and 8th grade boils down to these 5 statements. We are always questioning the world around us. We're always understanding our need to learn and grow, exploring our past, present, and future, searching for solutions and meaning, and looking for new ways to think creatively and critically. And as has been mentioned before, we know that Every district is required to identify our gifted and talented students, but we feel passionately that that's only the beginning of our job. And so we're looking for as many different ways as we can to meet the needs of our highly motivated, highly creative, high ability students, which in the Quest part of the program includes 139 students in grades 4 and 5, or approximately 10% of that population, and 203 students, or again, approximately 10% of our 6th through 8th grade students as well. The identification process, just some of the basics for how that works. The overall idea for how we identify students for Quest is based on, again, Dr. Joseph Renzulli's philosophy of giftedness, and he breaks it down to a really simple idea, which is that we have 3 traits of giftedness: above average ability, task commitment, and creativity. And in this Venn diagram here, that little Q in the middle is the key for us. That's that Quest characteristic that we're looking for. Every student, it's a little bit different about how much they have of each, because we're all individuals, but we're looking for that area in the middle to really challenge those kids. When we're identifying students as well, this is a multi-criteria system. Because we're looking at the whole child, we are definitely looking at things like test scores. We are looking at InView scores and SBAC scores, but we're also looking at report cards. We're looking at teacher input. We're looking at creativity activity from enrichment class input from the Quest teachers themselves. And we have special checklists and nomination forms so that we're looking at as many different ways and as many different angles as we can to determine if this program is the best fit for a student. We're also looking for gifted learners, and by that I mean, if you're looking at the difference between a high achiever and a gifted learner, Quest we believe is the best fit for the students in that latter category. The students that ask a lot of unforeseen questions, the students that only need a few repetitions to move on, the students that can manipulate information and are constantly challenging and asking and pushing their teachers in every area for more. That's what we're here to bring.
And we also continue to celebrate students that are doing well in the classroom. So we want to make sure that we mention that. We're not all saying that every kid is going to be a Quest student. We celebrate when students are being successful in the classroom and doing their best work. That's our goal.
Absolutely. We're always looking to that fit, like Michelle was saying, with the Math Quest students, as well as knowing where each student fits and where we can celebrate them the most is key. Our school-based nomination system, students can, when we first look at our nominations for students at the end of 3rd grade, going into 4th grade, and any time along that that continuum between 4th grade and 8th grade, we're always looking to bring students in, because we all develop at different levels. Not every student is ready for Quest at one particular level, but might be a year or 2 years down the line. The team that we put together for our nomination meetings, that consist of the classroom teachers, the Quest teachers, Dr. Thompson, the building administrators, curriculum specialists, and pupil service representatives are also there to, again, look at each child from every available angle. There are multiple things that we're looking to tie into our Quest curriculum that are important key points in our district. One of them being cultural competency, where we're looking at different groups and different ideas, and we approach those cultural competency ideas through our unit activities, our type 1, 2, and 3 experiences, which I'll get to in a minute, and different talent centers that we explore.
We also hold our cultural competency activities in MathQuest as well, as we look at mathematicians over time, and we look at careers also.
We're always looking to tie in our social emotional learning, which is key for so many gifted students. And so we look at our CASTLE model: self and social awareness, responsible decision making, self-management skills, relationship skills, and we're always looking to tie those in a multitude of ways in our lessons, in our activities, in our warm-ups, in our projects, in our reflections on our work, our self-assessments, to really continue to help nurture the growth of that social emotional learning in our students. So across each of the grades from grade 4 to 8, there is a thematic progression. In grade 4, we're looking at exploration, and that exploration can manifest itself in a lot of different ways: exploration of topics, exploration of what it means to be a Quest student. In grade 5, we're looking at communication skills. That's our students' first times to work as groups on our big long-term type 3 investigation projects where they have to develop those communication skills with each other. In middle school, across the 3 grades, we have a mini unit at the beginning of the year that we use to really get us started and kickstart our creativity and our research skills and our critical thinking skills through, in 6th grade, our personal Quest identity. In 7th grade, topics related to adolescent brain development, and in 8th grade, topics related to our personal and historical legacies. Now, Dr. Renzulli's enrichment triad model is the basis for our largest projects in Quest. If you've been around Quest teachers or Quest students, you hear the term type 3, type 3, type 3 all the time. Well, to have a better understanding of what that means, it's important to know that there is a type 1 and a type 2 experience as well. And those 3, as you can see in this image here, are a continuum. They're not something that stacks up. They're something that is, everything is feeding into each other. A type 1 experience is learning about a new something, going to a museum, going on a field trip, watching a documentary. A type 2 experience is developing the research skills that are needed to really dig deeper and know what are valid sources and what are different skills that you need to develop to really start to become an expert in that particular field. And that culminates in our type 3 experience, where students take that, what they've learned from their type 1 experience, what they've learned in the research skill development in type 2, and really put that together into a unique, original product based on topics of their choosing. Along with that, according to another expert in gifted education, Dr. Susan Baum, we really look at these 4 talent centers that we have, and say that, like, every project that we do, or every activity or thing that we do in Quest boils down to one, usually more than one, of these 4 talent centers: build, draw, perform, and write. So we're always looking to see, as a Quest student, what is my strength? What am I best at, and what do I like to do the most, and how can I develop that more? Well, at the same time, how can I take some of these other talent centers where I might be a little uncomfortable, or I might not have the same skill set, and push myself to develop those as well? So I'm going to show a couple of work samples here. I'm going to start with a grade 5 here, just so you can see. We'll see how this, yay, that worked.
No.
Oh, yeah, because we're in somebody's, oh yeah.
Somebody else's.
All right,
That's
that's
right.
okay. I can speak to these.
Yeah.
So in the grade 5 work sample, it's a type 3 investigative project that a group of 5th graders of mine did a few years ago, where this group of 5 students was interested in civil rights, and they were also interested in writing, and they were interested in drawing as well. So they created a comic, they created a magazine that had a comic component called Power to the People, where they investigated and wrote articles on lots of different civil rights leaders, and then at the end also created a comic where some of those civil rights leaders turned into superhero versions of themselves. Another one, in the grade 8 level, you would see an example of a History Day project. And a student who is a junior this year at Conard named Claire Flynn, as an 8th grader, for her Type 3 and History Day project, she created a documentary about John Hersey's Hiroshima article, which eventually became his book, Hiroshima. And her 10-minute documentary was all about how that was that was kind of a wake-up call, that article, for the American people after World War II, to find out what exactly had really happened on the ground in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And Claire's documentary also that year, as an 8th grader, won, or came in first place as in the individual documentary category at the National History Day contest. So the last component of that we wanted to bring up was classroom enrichment. And we, as Quest teachers, whether it's pushing into classrooms or using challenging enrichment kits or creativity activities and different extensions, we are going in and working with and advising teachers with our 3rd and 4th grade students, which there are over 1,300 of in the district as well. And we are crafting lessons and activities that we use to really push all of our students at those levels and enrich them in creative and critical thinking skills. And we just want to leave you with this quote here, and thank you for your time, and we just want to open the floor up for any questions.
No, we don't need it. That's us.
Okay, so questions and comments.
Boy.
And what a nice job. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. Yes, yes. My, oh, my. Teammates, questions. Yes. Jason.
So first of all, I'll start as someone who actually took a class in college called Math for Liberal Arts Majors. Certainly very impressed with the math offerings. Probably would not have qualified. I think with any program like this, transparency is really important. And I was wondering if you could speak a little bit to what communication there is to parents, what resources there are for parents to know about the selection criteria, how their kids are being kind of looked at in terms of this, and the ultimate decision-making process.
We actually have an information evening before conferences so that we can inform parents about our process and help them to be better set up their conferences so that they can get feedback from teachers on how their students are doing and would this program be appropriate for them. In addition to, we have a website. We send home many communications from our Quest teachers just to kind of inform parents about our programs. And we meet with the regular ed teachers as well because we want to make sure that they're clear on our processes so that they can then inform parents as well.
Thank you. So there would be, on the website, you could go and see some of the same selection criteria that we saw here.
Absolutely. Yes, all of this information is actually there so that if they have questions, they can reach out to us. In addition to just become more informed with what this process is. And the information evening is well attended in February. Parents come out and ask questions about that as well.
Yeah, I just wonder how often you deal with a student that is put forward by parents that you deem not ready, or someone who is in Quest and struggles so much that you have to deal with a withdrawal.
Well, that's why we work really hard to make sure it's a just right fit. But with that being said, we do have a support plan in place to support students and making sure that we're working not only with the classroom teacher, but the parent and the student and the Quest teacher to move that student along the continuum. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that they're continuing to love math. We don't want them to struggle very long where they're missing out. So we want to make sure, again, that we have the just right placement for students because it's a tough conversation to have after the fact.
And yes, Claire, we've had sometimes there's, questions about acceptance into Quest, and Mary has a process. Do you want to talk about your process if there's review of a student who didn't get in first time?
If there's a student that didn't get in, we put that student on watch because we talk about developmentally being ready for that. And we watch the students. So if they don't get in that year, we make sure we communicate with the Quest teacher the following year. So she or he is then following up with the classroom teacher to let them know that this is a student we're looking at and really get information about how the student is performing and the need. If in the classroom that need is being met, we don't push that because we want the student to be happy in their placement and be successful as well.
I'm also glad to see how many children in the Reg Ed class are getting some experience that wasn't around, 10 years ago. And I think it gives everybody a chance to shine. It also, the increase in the special ed population is impressive, and some of the more minority students that are now being included. I also think that a lot of the foundation for West Hartford Public School projects that teachers do that there's a lot of Quest-like projects that are initiated by independent teachers that aren't in Quest. So all of this stimulates the love of learning,
Absolutely,
and
that's the
I
goal,
think it's
Claire.
great.
Other questions or comments? Yes, Shannon.
I'm just curious how you message it to students, because I know there's they are aware of when their peers are taken out of the class and brought to Quest. There's a little there. I don't think they can help but compare to each other. And how do you help with that? I know like the Art Quest program is after school, so you kind of avoid that separation entirely. But when their students are seeing it firsthand, how do you help them understand so there isn't a sense of they're getting something I'm not getting?
Well, that's why it's very important for us to push in, so we get to know all students, and they also get to know our Quest teachers, and they see that we're working in collaboration and supporting them. So we know those students, we have conversations with them, so they're assured that, you know, that we know them and are there to support them as well. But again, we go back to celebrating when they're being successful in the classroom, and it's the correct placement.
And I was going to piggyback and add one thing. I mean, between Tier 1 interventions, Tier 2 interventions for students, special education support, ESOL support, there are students that get pulled in and out of class with great frequency. I would dare to say that it is not anything that students really think of as uncommon. So I don't know how much the question might come across their mind.
Sometimes, too, the kids that leave want the classroom to go into suspended animation and not do anything while they're out. So it works both ways. Sometimes, don't do anything fun while I'm away.
Thank you for the presentation. It's really interesting. I had a question as to why we have the Quest program only on math and art and not something else. Why those two particular disciplines?
I think because also music is a part of that, and those students are remaining in the music department, and then theater as well. So those areas are addressed. So it's really just the Quest, which is our humanities, ELA, and social studies combinations, transdisciplinary in nature. And then there's the Math Quest and Art Quest.
So I just want to be clear that, I mean, Gail, there, the Quest program, elementary, middle school Quest, that's not specifically math. So that is the humanities as well
Right,
as
social
as
studies and
everything.
in English.
And then,
Elementary is the art
no, I'm sorry, Quest 4 through 8.
4 through 8, yes.
And then Math Quest is 4, 5. And then Art Quest is 5.
Yes.
So I think the piece that might not have come across in our presentation is the general Quest is 4 through 8, and that is generally in all the subjects, humanities especially.
Okay. Thank you.
I just wanted to follow up on that. I thought you had a pattern of after 4th and 5th, there was other math classes or other math
Right.
treatments, and then all the way to high school.
They go into 7 honors.
So in
middle
math,
school.
so in math only, it's Math Quest 4, Math Quest 5, and then they go into the regular classroom. Whereas Quest, they have the classes at the elementary, and then when they hit the middle school, it is actually one of their periods that they would go to.
Yes.
So they would take it as a period.
I thought you had the multivariable calculus.
That's math.
In high school.
So in math, I'm sorry, the Math Quest program in grade 4 and 5 prepares them so much that they are, the different courses offered through secondary school
So
are
It's
able
more
to-
advanced, it's just not broken out?
We don't need to we don't need to have a Math Quest in the middle school because the students can take classes above grade level because they're naturally there.
So when they're in 8th grade, they're actually going to be going over to the high school for their math lessons in the morning, and then they'll come back.
All right,
Because-
thank you.
Other questions or comments? I just want to say again, thank you so much for the presentation. And what is just so encouraging to hear, and oh my goodness, to start off with the video and to hear the young people, for they themselves to speak about the experience for them and appreciate how you motivate those who may not feel the motivation themselves, and for you to see the glimmer of hope and potential. There was one slide you had up there. I couldn't write the notes down fast enough. It was one about mistakes. Mistakes are expected, and there were like 4 points you made to it. And that is something that we adults certainly need to be reminded of as well. And as you scroll. Yes, yes. Oh, if we can just see that again. And the reason why that just stood out is with you acknowledging the strengths, the potential, the advancement of the students, for you also recognizing they're still human and they're going to make mistakes and not to expect a level of perfection in them. That is so important. We're almost there, I think, but that. Oh, it was in the video? Oh, I'll find it some other time. All right, will do, will do. Will do. Well, thank you so much again for all that you're doing. You will continue to do. Thank you again. Okay. And as we transition with the agenda, we now will move on to Early Learning Center in West Hartford Public Schools, also referred to as ELC. And we will receive the background from Ms. Melissa Caballero, Ms. Melissa Cook, and Ms. Laura Preston, who will report. But I first will pass to Mr. Vicines for his introduction.
Well, thank you very much. I'm going to talk a little bit here while Melissa gets that plugged in and charged up. But the Early Learning Center, the ELC, hosts two different sites, both Whiting Lane and Aiken Elementary School. It's one of our very proud, one of our pre-K programs that's specifically designed for students coming out of the Birth to Three program who may have additional needs, and then attended by non-disabled peers as well. It is certainly one of the gems that we have, and I'm excited to have these guys tell you all about it. And I'll turn it over to Melissa to introduce the team.
Thank you so much, Paul. So I'm happy to be presenting on the ELC this evening, and I'm here with Melissa Cook, who's one of our Pupil Services Department supervisors, in addition to overseeing the ELC for the past, since 2019. She also supports some of our elementary schools and all of the additional grant-funded preschool students who might have special education needs in those programs as well. But definitely a leader, phenomenal leader in our district. And we're happy to have Laura Preston, who is one of our special education teachers in our district and currently one of our diagnosticians. And you'll learn a little bit more about the diagnostic team and the work that Laura currently does. But she has been a special education teacher supporting early learning as both an integrated teacher and as an intensive teacher. So you'll hear a little bit more about those models and the specific roles that our staff play in early childhood development. But I do want to acknowledge one of our other staff members who was integral in the, the formation of our Board of Ed report and in the presentation, who couldn't be here, Liz Cronin. She's our speech and language pathologist diagnostician, who really supported the process but was unable to be here, probably watching from home. And I also want to give a shout out to our ELC staff that are here tonight in support. Our Early Learning Center is the first interface that families have with their children with disabilities at a very young age, and they serve a really important role in setting the tone for both parents' understanding and partnership with the schools, and they do just a phenomenal job. They're just a great group of professionals who are incredibly talented at supporting early childhood learning. And so I just wanted to acknowledge all of their hard work and their efforts that they do each and every day for some of our youngest learners here in the district. So as Paul shared, the Early Learning Center is a very special place here in West Hartford Public Schools. We do fondly call it the ELC, special education acronyms. We everything goes hand in hand. And as you've heard me talk, a lot about the IDEA. IDEA does have a component in its law very specific to early childhood, mandating that we must have programs for students with special needs for 3, 4, and 5-year-olds. And so, it is required that in the state of Connecticut that we have a program by the age of 3 for students who are eligible, and that is what the Early Learning Center serves in our town, is that need for having a federally mandated program for students with special needs, and starting at the age of 3. And so a little bit about our program. We are very lucky to have a NIAC accredited program that supports our preschool age students here that live in the town of West Hartford. We do have the program locations both at Whiting Lane and Aiken Elementary School, and our program is integrated, so it provides an opportunity for both disabled and non-disabled peers to grow and learn together, side by side. They focus on kindergarten readiness skills, child development, social development, and behavioral development. And it's really important that we mention that it's NIAC accredited, as NIAC is the standard for excellence in early childhood, and it gives both a sense for our families and the community, and when they're looking for early childhood options, that this has been a vetted program that meets a high quality of standard and gives them a level of assurance when they're enrolling their child in the Early Learning Center that our program has met all of those high quality standards. The program runs Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays on a half-day schedule, and if warranted by a child's special needs, they might attend full day. And we'll tell you a little bit more about what the important things that happen on Wednesdays. We do have an integrated classroom model where we have a peer lottery. We do aim for 50-50 because it does rely on peers engaging in the lottery process. We're not always at a 50-50 ratio of non-disabled to disabled peers, but that's certainly our goal and target. We run an annual lottery very similar to the one you heard about earlier this year for our other preschools here in town for peers who might want to be peer role models to participate in the program.
So over the next two slides, I'm going to talk a little bit about our certified teaching team within the Early Learning Center, starting with our special education teachers. As Melissa said, we have two locations at Aiken and at Whiting Lane. There's 2 classrooms at Aiken and 6 integrated classrooms at Whiting Lane. We have a total of 13 special education teachers in whole. So on this slide, as you can see, we have what we call our integrated teaching team, our duly certified special education teachers. And I just want to emphasize the point of duly certified. So our integrated teacher's role serves 2 main focuses. One, to provide that general education, early childhood standards for all of our students in an integrated model. So they are teaching to our early childhood standards for all students. The duly certified means that they're also our special education teachers. So they're simultaneously not only providing the general education curriculum, but they're also addressing the varied needs and the IEP services for our students with disabilities. Melissa mentioned a little bit about how our program is a 4-day-a-week model. Our teachers, though, on Wednesdays are also teaching, but in a different capacity. So when our students are not with us, many of our families choose to access community preschools in West Hartford and near surrounding towns. Our teachers are serving a source of a resource. So what's working in our program, we need to make sure is consistent across the community preschools so our children could be successful. So you'll often find our teachers out in the community consulting with other teachers that their students are accessing. Our intensive program teachers are similar to our program schools, so we have a continuum of services, and for some students require very individualized programs, and we have 4 intensive teachers within the Early Learning Center. They run their classrooms similar to our integrated model with our focuses on generalization. So we're individualizing the skills, providing very individualized instruction, but also working with our integrated teachers to give opportunities in the integrated classroom. On the next slide, talks a little bit about our related service team. We have 2 school psychologists within the Early Learning Center. You'll hear a little bit more about their roles on the diagnostic team from Laura, but they also serve as teachers within the Early Learning Center. They push into our integrated classrooms and provide social emotional learning lessons throughout the year, teaming with our integrated teachers. They also serve support in our community and provide consultation similar to what we discussed with our integrated teachers. Do a lot of evaluations, which we'll talk a little bit more when we talk about the diagnostic process, but also support evaluations for students that are already in the program as we look to determine other potential needs that students may have. They also serve a source of a tiered intervention. So for students that come to our program as peer models, we may determine that there's some additional needs, and our clinicians are there to support those students. Our speech and language pathologist provides speech and language services to our students in the program, but also through our itinerant model. So for some students, we've determined that they require special education services, but the need isn't such that they need to attend our program, and they come in approximately once a week to receive some of those very individualized communication IEP goals and objectives. Often those happen on Wednesdays when our program students aren't there. We also have our occupational physical therapy and our BCBA that works within our program. And one of the things that I love with the peer model is a lot of times our peers will join our children with identified needs, and they're working together even within the related service model. One group that is not on the slide that I just want to acknowledge is our adult support staff. So in order for any of this to work in our program, we need the adult support staff to support the integration between the individualized services and to be successful in the program. So I just wanted to highlight them. They weren't on our slide, but they're an integral role that they play.
All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about the diagnostic team. So students with suspected delays can be referred to the ELC from a variety of different sources. So most often we're hearing from birth to 3, as well as parents. Community preschools will sometimes initiate those referrals, which will come in through the parents. We've, can also hear from private and different schools in the community, and as well as pediatricians. So once a student is referred, we set up our initial PPT meeting, and once we kind of know what the needs of the student are, the concerns, we'll determine which team members from that diagnostic team need to be present. As Melissa mentioned, we have a comprehensive diagnostic team, which includes Melissa, our pupil services supervisor. I'm the special education teacher, Liz Cronin, who's not here, who is our speech and language pathologist. We have 2 school psychologists that participate, an occupational therapist, and a physical therapist. So once we know sort of what team members need to be present at those referral meetings, that will sort of guide where we're going with the evaluations. So at those referral meetings, we gather information, and most often we are going to complete evaluations. In my time that I've been here, it's not that often that we don't suspect that we should evaluate the student. As Melissa said too, a part of our transition with this referral process is supporting those children that are in the community preschools. So one thing that's been amazing after sort of COVID lifted is being able to go see some of the students that we're evaluating in their community daycare preschools. It's really helpful to see them around other students, how they interact with the adults, and really what that educational impact might look like for us. Another support that we have for the community as well is some of our students that have communication difficulties but may not warrant an evaluation is our speech pathologist will screen children and then provide what's called non-mandated services for those children that may just need a little bit of extra help. And sometimes some of those students do end up leading to the referral process, but other times they just need that little bump up, which is considered a tiered intervention. Based on our current trend, it is anticipated that our diagnostic team will complete between 95 and 100 referrals this school year. And at this moment in time, 87% of those students are qualifying for special education. However, in past years, so we have some kids that we still haven't gone to the eligibility PPT meeting yet to determine if they do qualify. We're usually ending the year with a 95 to 97% qualification rate. Once students qualify, they are able to start on or before their 3rd birthday, so they'll have a home at the ELC. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about, I think we're on to the next slide, about what a typical classroom looks like at the ELC. Melissa talked a little bit about the different models. So we do have our integrated classroom model where we aim for 50% of the students to be from the community as our peer models, and then the other half of the class will be those students that have identified varying needs. A typical day in the classroom is, what you might see in a typical preschool, but I'm kind of going to go through what we're targeting in those different parts of the day. Using the creative curriculum and the Teaching Strategies Gold, which is the reporting system that goes along with that play-based curriculum, the teachers are taking a look at the areas of social emotional, physical, language, cognition, literacy, math, science, arts, and English language acquisition. In addition to, as Melissa had previously said, teaching to that general education curriculum, we're also modifying to meet the needs of all students in the class. So whether that be, extending an activity to reach those students that need that further challenge, or to meet the needs of students that may not be right where their typical peers are. So what does a typical day look like? I'm kind of going off what my schedule was last time I was in the classroom, but big things can happen in little parts of the day. So children arrive and they're working on self-help and independence skills, those self-care skills. So unpacking their backpack, taking off their coats, hanging things up, gathering the materials, organizing things that they need for the day. Kids might then transition to a tabletop where they're working on fine motor skills, math skills, working on sharing and exchanging materials with other children. So it's a nice little collaboration time. They might then transition to a morning meeting or a circle time where we're working on listening to a story, sitting and attending, where it kind of, and when they're pre-K year, introducing them to learning about the weather and the days of the week and the months of the year, getting ready for kindergarten. During learning centers, a lot of times you'll see a theme base throughout each classroom, which ties in with the creative curriculum, and we really try to use the student interest. So maybe it's dinosaurs or 3 pigs, depending on the time of year that you're going to see different themes, and then they're sort of integrated within all those learning centers throughout the classroom. During learning center time, you also might see the teacher structuring small groups or individual instruction to really meet the needs of those students that have IEPs in the class, and also pulling those peer models over to support. We have a snack time, of course. We have outdoor play. We have this amazing enclosed space within the Early Learning Center, and Aiken has a great playground as well, where they have fields to run in, climbers to use, swings, a sandbox, bikes to ride, so lots of opportunity for that gross motor development. We always incorporate music and movement, and then our children do have the chance to, that we're in a public school, they attend PE once a week, and also the media center to listen to a story and check out books. So it's a great experience for them. Now, as Melissa also said, the intensive academic classroom setting is going to really try to mirror that integrated setting as far as having those same types of activities during the day with less students, more adults, and really to practice those skills with the goal of generalizing into that larger integrated classroom setting. So circle time might be just a little bit smaller, a little bit shorter. The activities might be a little bit different, but maybe they're working on the vocabulary words, and then they're going to be able to kind of bring that information into that bigger classroom setting when they're ready. And during center times, it's going to be a little bit more structured with more of that teacher modeling, and kind of modeling that functional play, that language, and turn taking, so that then they can then bring that into the integrated classroom setting as well. I think our last count as of February 7th, 40 of our 118 students with IEPs are participating in that intensive classroom. So the needs of our students have evolved in the 5 years that I've been here. I think we're at 35% of our total student population receiving those intensive academic services.
I just want to chime in with a little bit of what you talked about, and I think you did a wonderful job. So we're all visualizing that community preschool program and the way Laura described it. And then I want you to think about the first day of school, right? First day of school for most of our students happened end of August. For the children in the Early Learning Center, that first day of school is happening all year long. So I kind of just wanted to paint that picture when Laura talked about approximately 100 referrals, 97% eligibility. So over the course of the next month, the teachers behind me will be welcoming anywhere between 11 and 15 new students to the program. And so while a lot of our teachers have established those classroom routines and structures and learning, our talented group of teachers behind me are doing that first day of school very often, infusing in newly welcomed, newly identified 3-year-old students into our program, along with peer models that have been with our program for maybe 2.5 years. So I kind of just want to paint a picture of the uniqueness of our program is that it is always growing. And that's something I just can't say enough about the group of teachers next to me and behind me, and what they do to create high quality learning environment through the Early Learning Center.
So that is something that's very unique to the Early Learning Center, is that most often when you imagine a classroom, you imagine that the class roster is set at the beginning of the year and the teacher knows these are my students and these are the students that I will be interfacing with their families and supporting their education across the year. But with the Early Learning Center, what's different is that that number changes across the year, and those classrooms start low and go high, depending on the number of referrals that you see across the year. And so they've shared some statistics, but what we did was did a 5-year trend. And so what we really see is that the number of referrals kind of hovers around a standard amount of referrals, but it's a pretty significant amount of referrals across a year, anywhere from 120 to 140 in a given school year. And what we've seen is that there has been a high eligibility rate. And what I will say to that is that really speaks to appropriate referrals coming out of birth to 3 services made by parents, pediatricians, or school team members once they know a student. But I think that speaks also to the unique nature of the ELC. As I shared, it's under IDEA, so the doors are never closed. And so we, as a school system, are always growing and responding to our students' needs. Not dissimilar to the enrollment trends I've talked to you about in our larger special education population. What you see with a 10-year look back is that the numbers continue to climb, just kind of what we're seeing as a trend. This trend isn't unique to West Hartford. The last year there is like a projection based on what we know, and also includes some of the information for what we believe will be accurate based on the new K start date, which will have us keeping some of our students for another year based on their age and date of birth. So we do see that the trends that we see in the larger special education population are really mirrored here in our enrollment of the Early Learning Center. And similar to what I've talked to you about of the trend within the trend is that, as Laura had mentioned, that percentage of students who require our more intensivized programming, because we do have that continuum within our Early Learning Center, we see that trend increasing at a more rapid rate than we see our enrollment trend increasing. And so, when we look back 5 years, we had half as many students attending in our more intensivized program. And so that just, again, really reflects our larger population and demographics of what we're seeing in special education, is that we're seeing an overall increase in special education with an overall increase in our more specialized, more complex profile students who require more specialized learning needs.
Before you go to questions, I just want to clarify that last point you made, and thank you guys, did an amazing job. But the enrollment eligibility for the ELC, so in our regular pre-K programs, we'll follow a pattern very similar to what we have for kindergarten. You have to be age 3 by September 1st in order to be eligible to enroll in kindergarten. But for the ELC, it's a rolling admissions based on when you turn 3. So if you turn 3, if you've been identified, you can be joining those classes mid-year. So that's a very subtle but dramatically important difference in terms of how the ELC pre-K programs run, and it is testament to the outstanding work of the entire team and the dedication that they have to always really be nimble to welcome new students, reintegrate, can create those team bonds and create that community for learning. So thank you. Excellent presentation. I turn it back for questions.
Yes, echo. Excellent presentation. Thank you so much. Teammates, questions, comments regarding the information we've received? Claire, yes.
Yeah, so thank you very much for the presentation. I have to reveal I am a proud parent of an ELC student who actually entered December 29th was her birthday. So she was one of those students that we had to retain her in pre-K 4. And now with the law change, we wouldn't have had to do that. She could have started kindergarten at 5, as she did, but it was my pushing. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I'm this 40% intensive are those kids most likely going to go into one of our intensive kindergarten, first grade programs? Correct. And that is a new model over the last 5-6 years?
I think when they made the transition, it actually predates both of us. I know I was just looking like, I don't know. I do know that, at some point within our integrated model, there was a shift in our students' needs, and we created the intensive model. I can't see.
In the elementary schools.
The elementary schools intensivized program model has always existed, to my knowledge, going back quite a ways. It was called different things historically. At one point, it was called the modified curriculum program. I think it was
Well, there was adjusted curriculum.
adjusted curriculum. Thank you. I was
Right.
losing the word for it, the adjusted curriculum program. And there was also, kind of like a multiple disabilities program. But as our students' demographics have changed, our programs have really reflected the changes in our student population. We really try to say who are our students and how do we serve them versus here are our programs, do our students fit.
Right.
That's not a model we are adopting. We really want to say who are our students coming in and how can we best respond to their programming needs and how can we shift as the adults providing those programs. And so we do, Claire, to your question, provide a continuum starting in the Early Learning Center, and that really helps us understand our students' needs. And so as they matriculate into kindergarten, the team really does a lot of work in working with their kindergarten and elementary colleagues of saying, this is how we're supporting the student and we're meeting with success in the Early Learning Center. And so as students move up to the next grade level, what's the most appropriate setting for them and how can we make sure that in that transition to kindergarten and kindergarten readiness that they'll continue with that success. And so sometimes that means a resource program with adult support. Sometimes that means continued placement in a more intensivized program, whether it might be intensive behavior or intensive academic, depending on the student's profile and learning needs.
Okay.
And if I can chime in too, transition is a word that is part of our foundation of the Early Learning Center. And if you think about it, we're doing a lot of support transitioning students into the public education, but we're also supporting all 11 elementary schools. And our teachers support those transitions across all 11 elementary schools to make sure they have successful years going into kindergarten and are available to consult with the 11 elementary schools at the beginning of the year and throughout the year.
Thank you. I had a question about, it's always been a concern to me about, it's almost, I call it love blindness. It's the new parents that don't realize that there's a developmental delay that might mean birth to 3. They might not even know what birth to 3 is. Mm-hmm. I know the Family Resource Center has ages and stages, and there's but sometimes a pediatrician visit doesn't always tell you. So does the child find go back before 3? And then how do you find these families that maybe don't know about birth to 3? Birth to 3 then helps them refer to you guys at ELC. But what do we do about the families? Because the sooner you help these kids, the sooner they get in a program, and even birth to 3. But if you don't know it exists and you think your child's just perfect, but maybe there is some help they need.
Yeah, sure. I think that's a great question. Not all of our families are connected with resources, and not all of our families are also looking at their child through a lens where they might identify that there's a difference. And that difference is or may or may not be a disability. And it's sometimes hard depending on a family unit. And, it's your own child, and that is a very delicate process. The state has come up with a Sparkler app that's on our website that offers an opportunity for parents to engage and identify that maybe my child needs some support, and it really connects them with additional resources and additionally sends us information so we can track students who might have been eligible for birth to 3, exited from birth to 3, that might be on monitoring, or parents that might have continued concern that might be not identified as special education. But I know, and I'll turn it over to Laura.
Yeah.
I'd love for her to share a little bit more about the important work she does in working with families. As I shared, this is the first time families are interfacing with the public schools, and it might be, as Claire said, the first time they're hearing disability alongside their, the way they think of their child, and that could be very scary for parents. And so, the team does just a phenomenal job of helping parents understand the process, understand their children, and understand how they can partner in solving some of the delays or difficulties that their child might be facing. But I really would love Laura to kind of highlight some of the work that she and her colleagues do each and every day.
Sure. I mean, you did a great job touching upon that. So, it is, I think, like you said, sometimes the first time parents are experience, maybe it's their first child and they're not really sure what typical development is. So we're really guiding them through that process. A big part of that initial evaluation is going to be a parent interview, where we can really go into depth of what typical skills look like at different age groups. We try to celebrate the strengths, even if there is an area of delay, and, kind of give tips and what are we going to do to build that area up. But that parent interview piece is a huge opportunity to make that connection with the families and then to, hopefully begin to educate. Did you have a thought? Sorry. Okay. To piggyback off before, we're getting a lot of, our community preschools who we have a great relationship with. They're amazing about referring kids to us before they're 3, when they begin in that daycare or community preschool program and they start to see any suspected areas of delays, they'll speak to the family, they'll let them know about the ELC, and then we usually hear from families that way. Pediatricians the same, but I understand too that oftentimes it's missed and we're like, where have you been? But I think the Sparkler hopefully will continue to inform families of that we exist.
I don't think she gives herself enough credit. I think the relationships that the diagnostic team has built with our community preschools speaks a lot. They will reach out to us. They may even call our Whiting Lane, ask questions. Denise is a great source of resource. She's our Early Learning Center secretary, so she does a really good job of gathering information. We have families that call that should have already been seeking birth to 3 services. So Laura and Liz are often in that front line of providing those resources to families. As she said, we will service students through non-mandated services before going to evaluations to kind of weed out do we really suspect there might be a disability, or is this something, especially with speech and language and the articulation, that we can address through a non-mandated and get them in a good place and not move forward with the referral. So relationship building, I think, is the primary focus of our diagnostic team and all our teachers within the ELC. Again, our teacher team is doing a presentation for families coming up in April on communication. Behaviors are a form of communication and how to provide strategies and resources in the family. And I think that's something that came out of COVID. Back, if you think about virtual learning, our preschool teachers, one of the feedbacks that they gave to me was we had so much opportunities to support our families, that we'd go online to do our preschool classroom and the families would be there asking questions. So we try to continue with providing those resources to our families, whether they're with us yet or coming or are already part of our ELC community.
Gail.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I had a couple of questions, just probably logistical. You said the program is half a day. So does that mean that you have a morning session and an afternoon session, and those are different kids?
Correct. So a majority of our students either attend in the AM and the PM. We provide busing to community preschools within town lines. So some of our students may join us in the morning and then go to another community preschool in the afternoon.
Okay.
Some families choose to have them come home as well. And then there are some students, typically in their pre-kindergarten year, based on their level of identified needs and PPT's decisions, may attend full day.
Okay. And then I think I understood that you're attempting to have 50% of the kids who have maybe special needs and 50% of the kids who are like the peer models.
Yeah.
But then when I looked at the numbers here, you wrote in your report that you had 124 students with IEPs and 46 peer models. So that didn't seem 50-50.
Our goal is an integrated model. Our enrollment trends and referrals is impacting that goal. Typically, as we progress in the school year, those trends start to shift a little bit. And then we add now the change in legislation with we have about 17 students staying on next year who would have typically gone to kindergarten, but now we'll have another year of pre-K. So it is our goal, but our trend numbers are quite high.
Because of the increasing special needs population. Okay.
Correct.
And then my last question was about funding. Since this is, you said, a federally mandated, is there federal funds for that?
I'm happy to share that this falls under the IDEA grant. So this is not an unfunded mandate. It does fall under our IDEA grant. And so much, if not most, of the cost is covered under IDEA.
Does that include the peer models, or does that only include the students with the special needs?
Just the students with special needs. So that's a great question. Our students who are peer models are tuition-based students, and it is a reasonable rate, but they are tuition students.
Okay, so they're paying tuition.
Correct. Yep.
All right.
And if I may piggyback, I'm very appreciative for your questions, Gail, because they, they sort of weave in the program itself and conversations we're having in and around budget. And certainly the ELC, as those numbers increase, the goal behind an integrated program would be able to keep up with that 50-50 ratio, look at number of sections. We have had some growth in that. The need that we see more, I would say, beyond number of sections, because we can always add sections, we run into space issues. We run into the ability to be able to outfit classrooms and have the number of available spaces for the program at our sites, which is a much more challenging problem for us to solve. But it's something that Melissa and I have talked extensively about this year. We're looking at the program model. We're looking at the budgetary implications. We're looking at the space implications to be able to make certain that the program is certainly providing the services that we want, but we're trying to look forward in future with it and say how can we find continuous improvements.
Other questions or comments? Yes, Shannon.
Thank you so much. This is amazing. I mean, just to learn about all of this is very, very helpful. And I'm just curious, kind of along the same lines, if you run into what the ratio of kind of requirements or expectations are for teacher to student, and then do you run into capacity constraints where you have to, if it's midway through the year and you're at a certain cap, do you have to put students on waiting lists, or are you able to always accommodate?
So that's a little different. I think it's going to go back to what Melissa's saying about that this is a special education program and mandations. So, obviously, like we have Charter Oak and Smith, and those are a different type of preschool program, and just that they're grant funded, and they do have those certain like 16, 17 students max throughout the year, and they stay. For us, the door never stops. So, if we get 3 parent referrals and 3 birth to 3 referrals that weren't on our list tomorrow, our diagnostic team will move forward with those referrals. And if we determine that there's a need for special education services, then we would provide that IEP and services.
Yeah, that's a really great question because our doors never close and we can't delay the start. So upon the 3rd birthday, they are starting with us. And that is where maybe you've seen some growth in the numbers of like an adopted budget and then the current budget, and you might see a staffing increase because the students are coming in as on a rolling basis. If our numbers get higher than anticipated, and we use multiple measures for projections and try to do our best to kind of ascertain what we believe our numbers will be and how we can best serve those students. But in a given year, there are so many different factors that go into that. I shared about move-in numbers. Before the start of the school year, we had 70 move-ins. The ELC has seen, in addition to all the referrals, approximately 2 move-ins that we didn't anticipate enrolling in the program a month that have already been identified with special education needs. And so we'll always continue to respond to that. So in past years, that has been a post-budget add of either a teacher position, whether it's integrated or a more intensive position, or even in response to speech and language needs based on the number of students who require speech and language services in the program or as itinerant services. So we continue to monitor that. We try to do our best to understand ahead of time what those needs will be, but certainly the rolling admission and identification of student through Child Find can impact where we thought we were going to be versus where we end up.
And I think one other factor is, like, in addition to our community preschools, we have, West Hartford students in magnet schools, and we're finding that the diagnostic team is supporting a higher number of that level of support, and many students often now are coming back into our early learning center program just based on their identified needs and services.
Yeah, and just to clarify, that's not our town schools
Correct.
that, like Charter Oak and Smith. We're talking about our area magnet schools that students and families who live in West Hartford might choose to access through CREC, or other different types of magnet schools who might be determined eligible at the magnet school, but due to their level of need or the programming options that they can access here in district, might be making that choice to come back to district.
I'm curious, do we have outplaced pre-K kids?
We do, but very few.
Very, very few.
Other questions or comments? Thank you so very much again for all that you three are doing, and all of you in the audience are doing, and those that may be viewing. Thank you all for your collective efforts. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And as we continue on with the agenda, moving on to routine matters, where we are seeking a motion that the Board of Education approve the minutes of the regular Board of Education meeting of March the 5th, 2024. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Jason. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Gail. Discussion? Seeing none, all of those in favor of approval say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Thank you. Moving on to information and reports. Board members, do we have any communication and reports from other organizations? Jason?
I sort of do. So I had the privilege last night of attending as a parent the King Philip 6th grade orientation. And I just wanted to say what a wonderful job that Principal Wright and her team does with that event. Really student-led. And Principal Wright asked each of the student volunteers, there must have been like 30 of them, so they're 6th through 8th graders, what their favorite part of King Philip was, and the vast majority of them answered the teachers. So I think that was just something that King Philip and the district should be really proud of.
Thank you for sharing that, Jason. Thank you. Any other? Yes, Gail.
I just wanted to make a comment, if that's okay. I just wanted to mention that March is Irish American Heritage Month, and I wanted to note that the Irish in our country have a very rich history here. President Biden, who himself is an Irish American, proclaimed that March of 2024 as Irish Heritage American Heritage Month, and he called upon all Americans to celebrate the achievements and contributions of the Irish Americans to our nation with appropriate ceremonies, activities, and programs. And I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you, Gail. Rightfully so. And recognizing it being Irish History Month, Awareness Month, also want to acknowledge it's Women's History Month as well. And so it's important to recognize all of the efforts that all contribute to the makings and success of our community. So thank you, Gail, for certainly recognizing that as well. Any additional comments or updates or reports? Seeing none. What was that?
I'm good.
Oh, all right, all right. Ethan's good, so we're good to keep moving on. And we're moving on to future business. Announcement of future meeting dates. Our next meeting will be, not so much a meeting, but on Wednesday, March 27th, 2024, we'll have our Board of Education public hearing at 7 o'clock, followed by Budget Workshop number 2. So again, next week, Wednesday, March the 27th at 7 o'clock, we'll have our public hearing, followed by Budget Workshop number 2 here at the Town Hall in room 314. Then on Thursday, April the 4th, 2024, we'll have our regular Board of Education meeting. Again, that is on a Thursday, April the 4th, 2024, our regular Board of Education meeting, where we'll have adoption of the Superintendent's 2024-2025 budget at 7 o'clock here at the Town Hall. And then on Tuesday, April the 16th, 2024, regular Board of Education meeting at 7 o'clock here at the Town Hall. Do we have a request for any future agenda items? Seeing none, do we have any visitors who would like to make a comment? Please come to the podium. And again, with this being the second meeting of the month, we're receiving comments on agenda items. The podium right there, please. Sorry. That's all right. And please share your name and your town of residence.
Hi, good evening. My name is Keisha. I'm currently residing in Newington. I used to be a resident here in West Hartford, Connecticut. So I'm a single mom of 3 children, and I am extremely disappointed just in how me and my family have been treated. So my family has lived in
Excuse
West.
me, ma'am. I'm so sorry for interrupting. Pardon me. I just want to share once again, with this being the second meeting of the month, we're receiving public comments on agenda items.
Okay.
And the agenda items include the proposed calendar for the 2025-2026 school year, gifted and talented education, and the Early Learning Center West Hartford ELC. So those presentations. So the comments we're receiving are on those topics.
Okay, so I'll continue briefly. This may fall in the category regarding like, I don't know, school agenda stuff or like the budget, I guess, I'm not sure.
May I just say, because I want to respect what you're sharing, and I
Yeah.
clearly see that there is something you want to share, and want to respectfully hear it. If I may, because the first meeting of the month, that's where we have public comments on any agenda item. And that is when you would be able to share without interruption. Pardon, I keep interrupting.
Yeah.
And out of respect for what you have to share, at the first meeting of the month, we're able to receive comments on agenda and non-agenda items. But I must share once again that for tonight, we're receiving comments on agenda items. And I sense that what you're about to speak on does not pertain to an agenda item.
Lorna, can I just point of order? I feel like I would like to make a motion to potentially listen to this woman. I think we can all listen to her for 3 minutes. She sat here all night, and I'd like to make a motion that we, whatever that motion is, that we make when we want to suspend the rules and listen to somebody's comments.
So the motion is to suspend the rules for public communication to allow for...
To listen to what Keisha would like to tell us.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All of those in favor, say aye.
Can we just, I think the next meeting is going to be the budget, and I assume there'll be a lot more people speaking. And in fairness to Keisha, she's going to get drowned out. So she's here. I think we give her the 3 minutes. And because I think next 2 weeks from now, based on the emails, will be crazy. Just my opinion.
Certainly receive your opinion, yes. Before I go to the vote discussion, yes, again, the motion has been made and it's been seconded to suspend the rules for public communication to include non-agenda items. Other comments or discussion points with the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all of those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Opposed.
Any abstentions? Majority do have it. So please do continue. And just want to say again, thank you for receiving this process. We do want to follow process in due order. So I will just share once again, and I apologize for not doing this before, with comments. Each individual has 3 minutes. And when you have 1 minute remaining in your time, Charlotte will hold up a yellow card. And when your time is expired, you'll see a red card. And we ask for you to please pause at that time.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm new to this too, so I'm sorry. But as I was saying, I'm a single mom of 3 children, and I'm just extremely disappointed in everything that we've been through. It's a little disheartening. My family has lived in West Hartford for the past 4 years, and my children have attended the schools here as well. They have been introduced to some wonderful resources like the IEP and a host of other programs that have catered to their needs. And recently, I have made the very tough decision to move my family from West Hartford after facing a financial hardship and crisis due to the separation of my kid's father and the demise of my late brother. So I decided that I would move my family to the town of Newington because it's just a better fit, it's more affordable, and still a great community for my kids. Fast forward, I submitted a request for my kids to finish out their school year without disrupting the curriculums that they are familiar with. My daughter suffers from anxiety, and I felt that the change would be confusing and a detriment to her learning environment. And my son is currently attending Sedgwick as an 8th grader and wanted to share the joy of graduating with his peers before starting, the new school year in the fall. And so to my surprise, I was denied within like the first 40 minutes of me sending an email, asking for my kids to finish out their school year without any real context, contextual background, sorry. I was then advised to review the Board of Ed's policy, and I went and I found the policy number 5003, which clearly states that children can finish out their school year with special permission from the superintendent. And then after several, just in my opinion, stoic and unempathetic back and forth, with folks like the assistant superintendent, I escalated the matter to the superintendent, and I was extremely vulnerable and shared information about my hardships and was left with an assignment to get a doctor's note about my daughter's mental health. I was denied a second time with false claims that the doctor's note was never faxed over, even though the medical staff showed me proof of the fax sent over on the 27th. I have a hybrid work schedule, and I commute to Boston for work about 2 days out of the week. And so I actually left, I left Boston and made it in time to get the note and delivered it to the superintendent the very next day. And my kids were given a week extension so that pupil services could investigate the situation. After another week, my kids were denied a third time because pupil services stated that my daughter didn't receive services at the school, even after the doctor herself mentioned my daughter's condition and how she didn't think it would help my daughter in her situation. So this Friday, and this was a part of the reason why I sat here today, my kids and I were treated like, excuse my language, terrorists. We were met in front of everyone in the parking lot with two security guards and the principal.
Excuse me, ma'am. I'm so sorry. Pardon. The time has expired, but
Okay.
please finish your sentence, but your time has expired.
Okay. I would just say we were met with security guards, and my kids were withdrawn from school without me having any knowledge. So as of right now, my kids are not in school, and my only ask was for my kids to finish out the last 3 months. I'm sorry, so sorry for choking up, but this is really hard for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any other comments to be made? Okay. Thank you. We do not have an executive session. With that, seeking a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Ethan. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Shannon. Meeting adjourned at 9 o'clock.